afternoon, one and all. I take pleasure to introduce our esteemed moderator and all the panelists to you. First, I would like to present before you the moderator for today's panel discussion, Dr. A. Stephen. Dr. A. Stephen is an assistant professor in Department of Botany at St. Joseph University, Bangalore. He earned his PhD in botany from the University of Madras, specializing in pollen analysis, paleo-botany, and plant systematics. With over 15 years of academic and research experience across the institutions such as French Institution of Pondicherry, CIMAP, and RKM Vivekananda College. His work integrates ecology, ethnobotany, and disaster management. Dr. Stephen's research explores plant-environment interaction, seed ecophysiology, and medicinal plant application, with numerous publications in reputed journals and active supervision of MSc and PhD scholars. Beyond teaching, he contributed to academic boards, examination committees, and scientific conference. Through his scholarship and mentoring, Dr. Stephen advances a vision of sustainable science, where understanding plant and ecosystem is not optional, but essential for a resilient future. A warm welcome to you, sir. Now, I would like to introduce the first panelist for today's discussion, Dr. Haridas VR. Dr. Haridas VR is a water resource expert with over 28 years of experience in natural resource management, watershed development, hydrogeology, and sustainable agriculture. He holds a PhD in water resource and has worked extensively across India and Asia, providing technical expertise, capacity building, and policy support on climate adaptive agriculture, groundwater studies, and water security planning. Currently serving as a national head for climate adaptive agriculture and livelihood at Caritas India. Dr. Haridas has led numerous projects with organizations such as NABARD, WaterAid, UNDP, and Caritas Asia. His international engagement spans countries including Mongolia, Cambodia, the Philippines, and Nepal. An accomplished author, he has written and compiled several books on sustainable farming, soil and water conservation, and climate resilience. His contributions have always been published in reputed journals and national diaries. Dr. Haridas has received multiple awards, including Pratibha Award in 2016 and the Harit Varsha Award in 2011, recognizing his leadership and impact in environmental conservation and sustainable development. A warm welcome to you, sir. Now, I would like to present before you the second panelist, Mr. Karthik Ponnappa. Mr. Karthik Ponnappa is a co-founder and principal at Smarter Dharma, where he leads the development of SD+, the world's first sustainable resource planning platform, with the construction industry accounting for nearly 40% of global carbon emission. Mr. Karthik's vision is to transform the way we build by integrating sustainability into every stage of planning, designing, and operations. SD Plus enables builders and urban planners to reduce capital expenditure, improve operational efficiency, and mitigate risk, while driving measurable environmental impact. Its features includes carbon neutral design, sustainable material mapping, real-time monitoring, partner ecosystem, and policy-level insights, all aimed at scaling sustainability across projects and cities. Through this work, Mr. Karthik champions a future where sustainable leadership in construction is not optional, but essential. A warm welcome to you, sir. Now, I would like to introduce the last panelist for today's discussion, Ms. Rishika Pardikar. Ms. Rishika Pardikar is an Indian environmental journalist specializing in the intersection of science, law, and policy, while primary focus on climate change and biodiversity. Her work spans both national and international contexts, with particular expertise in global negotiation under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Convention on Biological Diversity. Her reporting analysis has been published in leading international outlets such as Lever Jacobin, Foreign Policy, EU UGOs, and China Dialogue, as well as the prominent Indian media, including the Hindus and the Wire. A warm welcome to you, ma'am. Together, with such distinguished moderator and all accomplished panelists, we are sure the deliberation promises to be both insightful and inspiring. On the behalf of the organizer and all the participants of this seminar, I accord a warm welcome to the moderator and all the panelists. I now request Mr. Dr. Lavina Lobo to give a green welcome to the moderator and all our panelists. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon all. Am I audible? My screen is visible. After COVID, we usually start all our presentation like that only. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. After that we will ask, am I audible? Okay. So distinguished panelists, faculty, students, and the participants, it is a great privilege and honor to welcome all of you for this panel discussion on climate literacy and environmental governance, empowering the next generation. The topic is a very relevant topic because everybody is talking about climate and climate change. Most of us don't know what is climate. The definition of climate itself, it says more than 30 years of observation we need to have to say that is the climate of a particular area. So that means the climate change is a very tricky term because 1 year spike in temperature or 1 year spike in or dip in precipitation or the rainfall, you cannot call really it is a climate change. But still, we are in the era of climate change. Okay. There is no doubt about that climate is changing. There are a lot of evidences we are finding. One of the very important evidences, for example, the flowering. Because most of us know after a small summer rain, you will see all over the Bangalore, all these cities will be blooming like anything. That is not happening very frequently. So that is actually a sign of climate change. And the second important thing is the governance. The policies, institutions, and decision-making framework determine whether the knowledge translates into meaningful action. That is what the governance. And the third important component of the topic is the next generation. Because most of us, we are thinking that the earth is we just borrowed from the previous generation. But it is not from the previous generation. It is from the future generation we just borrowed this. So we have the responsibility to give back the same way what we have inherited from our previous generation. So that is the very important thing. So as we begin, let us remind ourselves that the discussion, whatever we are holding here, are not abstract debates, but it is a very relevant, urgent dialogues that carry implications for our communities, our ecosystems, and our shared future. It is for our better future. As a moderator for this particular session, my role is very definite. I don't want to take much of the panelist timings. The schedule or the The setup, what we have planned is, initially each panelist will give their presentations, 20 or 20 plus minutes, they will give their presentation. Then each one after finishing their presentation, we'll have a structured question and answers. Then we will take the questions from the audience, like you people. Yeah, at the end. Yes, all together only. So the first, initially, they will present. Then we'll have a moderator will have a certain questions. Then the audience will have the questions. So that's how we have structured this particular panel discussion. May I first invite Dr. Haridas, an expert in climate justice and sustainable agriculture from Ernakulam. He hails from Ernakulam. His work has consistently highlighted how climate resilience is not only an ecological necessity, but also a question of justice and survival for the next generation. Today, he will speak on the topic climate resilience, need for the survival of next generations. Over to Dr. Haridas, sir.
Thank you, respected moderator and my co-panelists, professors, students, dignitaries, and my dear friends. I would like to, though the time is very less, I will try my level best to include maximum input in 20 minutes. So, I would like to share climate realities. So, I have a request to you. We have less time. The energy level is low, especially after lunch. It's very difficult. So, I request you to open your eyes and put maximum concentration to our session. Okay? This is a request from our side. Okay? So, can you go to the next slide? So, this is very clear that we are into a climate emergencies. We are into climate emergencies, and we need to have climate resilient measures. You will not believe, we used to be part of many disaster relief and response. I don't know how many of you have visited Uttarakhand, where the recent flood and landslide happened. I don't know how many of you have visited Wayanad. My God, you have to come at least once in your lifetime, so that you will have a feeling of the real climate change. I will tell you why it happened. Basically, I am a hydrogeologist, water scientist. So there is a lot of things to be discussed about water and climate change. So this is the reality that we are living in a climate emergency time. So climate resilience is very much needed. So this is another big reality that I would like to share with you. Many of you will not be aware of it. That in my childhood, we had very good air to breathe. We had very good water to drink. We had very good soil to cultivate things. But for the last 40 years, this is what is our contribution. This is what is contributed by our people, by people like me and my people. I will not blame you because you are young people. We have contributed to it for the last 40 years, I am telling you. And we blame climate change for everything. Partially, we have contributed to it. 80% of it is the contribution from human beings. And we have contributed to all this. I told you, we do not have good soil to cultivate. Soil is degraded. Water is polluted. The food that you eat is highly polluted, toxins in it. That is why people feel so tired, because we don't have anything. We don't have good oxygen. Oxygen is there, O2 is the thing, but then polluted oxygen, toxic air, all that is leading to a lot of problems. Diseases are very, very common. New diseases are coming, like dengue fever, tomato fever, Many new diseases, corona we already faced. Then disasters are common every year. Every year new disasters are coming. This year in Jammu, how many people died there? Uttarakhand, how many people died? Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, we are there. I am going there next week to Uttarakhand. Uttarakashi, we are not allowed to go there, but now our team is already there in Uttarakashi. So when we see the real disaster and people affected with disasters and climate change, then we will realize, my God, there is something gone wrong from our side also. And damages, difficulties, and finally death is happening because of our contribution as well as due to climate change. Next. So, what is change? Our moderator already have mentioned about what is that. Any change in the normal level is a climate change. See, for example, temperature. If the temperature goes from 40 to 45, it is a change. It's a climate change. In Delhi, those who have gone to Delhi would have realized, when I was in Delhi 25 years back, the temperature used to be maximum 45 degrees Celsius. Now it is up to 50 degrees Celsius, which is a climate change, which is related to climate change. Same in the case of all differences. Yesterday we had heavy rain in Bangalore, and this is not the time for rain, okay? This is not the time for rain, but yesterday there was rain, cats and dogs. I was traveling from Kerala, and I have seen, my God, what a kind of rain it is. So that's a change. So that change is due to climate change. Next. This is one thing to be discussed very seriously. The amount of carbon dioxide that is there on the earth is gone much beyond our level. Now it is gone to 410 ppm carbon dioxide. It is gone, next slide, it is gone much higher than the permissible. This is the permissible limit of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide should not exceed to 320 ppm, but it has gone to 420 ppm. Pre-industrial time it was only 280 ppm carbon dioxide. So this is one reality, that because of lot of activities that is happening on the earth, we send carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrous oxides, etc. Next slide. So why is it about climate change? So this is it. This is the effect. Because you know that we have the electromagnetic radiation that we have studied. Electromagnetic radiation have got ultraviolet rays. If you allow ultraviolet rays to come in, finished. The end of life on the earth. But we let ultraviolet rays coming in, that's why there is chance for more skin cancer and all that happening. So this is the effect. So this is the ultraviolet rays, okay. If we allow ultraviolet rays coming in, that will be the end of life on earth. And who is not allowing ultraviolet rays to come in is ozone layer. We have heard of ozone layer. Ozone layer is not only ozone. Ozone layer is also made of carbon dioxide and water vapor. It is not only O3. O3 plus water vapor plus carbon dioxide is ozone layer. So there is an impression that ozone layer is made of only ozone. It is in the stratosphere. Next slide, please. So this is contributing to climate change. Change in the normal situation. People used to call it as new normal. But I don't want to name it as new normal. It is new abnormal that is happening. So because of lot of things, coal mines and all that, diesel and all that. For example, if you are having a diesel vehicle, you are having a diesel car, any idea how much would be the carbon dioxide emission with the use of 1 liter of diesel? It is 2.75 kilogram. So that much is the contribution to the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is going to the atmosphere. Next one. So this is industrial pollution. High level of industrial pollution reaching the atmosphere, causing climate change. So there is a lot of things contributing to climate change. Not only one aspect, but multiple aspects are contributing to climate change. Another very, very important thing that nobody is talking in COP, Conference of Parties, UNFCCC and all that, is the contribution from agriculture to the climate change. This is the recent findings that when you use pesticides and chemicals, chemical fertilizers and pesticides, it is emitting nitrous oxide. These nitrous oxides are 300 times more damaging than carbon dioxide. This is another reality. This is the per capita emission footprint, carbon footprint of an average Indian. The per capita carbon dioxide emission in India is 1,472. So each one of us have to plant minimum 20 trees in a year for you to be carbon neutral, a person to be carbon neutral. And this is much more in America and developed nation. America, when it is 1,472 in India, in America it is 16,000 per capita carbon dioxide emission. So that is the reality. Next slide, please. So, what is happening? Climate change. We are witnessing the impact of climate change through irregular rain, untimely rain. That is happening, and if there is no rain means it is extreme drought. No rain means extreme drought for 4 to 5 months. Heavy rain is leading to floods, landslides, soil erosion and all that everywhere, every year. It is increasing. This year we have witnessed 5 floods and landslides in India. And it is now in North India. It is happening in North India. Now Hyderabad is flooding. Yesterday there was heavy flooding in Hyderabad. It is happening in North India. It's coming this side also now. So it is mainly because of low pressure that is also happening, erosion, change in the rain. See, this is the, next slide, yeah. This is the hard reality. 2024, July 8th, Bareilly in Uttar Pradesh received 460 millimeter rain. 460 meter rain is 40% of the total annual rain. Just imagine. That is the 1,200 is the average annual rainfall of this particular area for 365 days. But in 12 hours, 40% of that happened and heavy flooding happened in Bareilly. This happened in Chambawat. 430 millimeter rain in 12 hours in 12 hours means it can cause major damage. Major damage, because that is the rain for 365 days. In 12 hours you got the 40% of. Next. This is about Pune, Maharashtra. Pune, July 25 received more than 50% rain. More than 50% of the annual rain is received in 12 hours in Pune. Next slide. This happened in Wayanad. This Wayanad is not far from here. I request you to visit that place. The entire area of that Panchayat, Mepadi Panchayat, is completely flown away. Very bad scene. Many people have come and we have shown to them the impact of what happened last year, July 31st. It received 210 millimeter rain. 210 millimeter rain out of 3,300 millimeter rain. That means 6% rain is received in 12 hours time. So, this is about climate change. So, that is about rain. When rain is creating a lot of havoc for some period, for few months, it is also temperature, increase in the temperature causing a lot of problems. Mud cracks are being formed. In the summer, farmers are not able to cultivate anything because of high temperature. If there is change in temperature from 45 to 46, it can create a lot of problem to the farmers. Farmers are not able to cultivate anything because higher temperature means less microbes in the soil. Microbes are getting depleted, killed from the soil. Earthworms are not seen in the soil because of heavy high temperature. So this is leading to water depletion. That's why in many places like Karnataka, the water level have gone down to 1,000 feet. In places more than 1,000 feet. And the quality is getting affected. I don't know, after 10 years, we will be having difficulties of water, drinking water. Now we are paying 20 rupees. For 1 liter of water, we are paying 20 rupees. In Karnataka is getting 2,500 millimeter rain, which is more than enough to meet the water needs of Karnataka as well as even neighboring state. But still you have water problem and you are paying water for 20 rupees. And the water that you are getting from outside is not good for your consumption. That is another reality. The packaged water, like the water that you get in the bottle, is having microplastics in it, which is damaging your blood vessels. So a lot of contributing things are there when you talk about all that. So evaporation is a problem and all that. And this is also happening with the melting of ice. Himalaya, you see, you cannot see much ice caps on Himalayas because of high temperature. Ice is coming in. Ice is also getting melted, and the temperature is getting increased in many places. Next. And this is the photo from Wayanad. This is the school, Churalmala school. Fortunately, school was not operating at that time because it happened in the night. It was happening in the morning. Many children would have died also next time. So, this is the reality again, that the rate is 10 times faster than Earth's usual change. The rate of the increase and the damage is 10 times faster than the normal level. Next. And here is this is NASA's satellite picture, because Earth is burning. And this burning is happening, and the temperature is increasing in many parts of the world. Next slide. Another thing, nearly 31 lakh trees were cut down every year. Who is giving us oxygen? Trees are giving us oxygen. So by cutting trees, more carbon dioxide is going in. They receive carbon dioxide and give us oxygen. But when trees are not there, what happens? More carbon dioxide will be released, and then less oxygen will be available for human beings. This is another reality I would like to share with you. I met this person last year in Khammam. His name is Ramaya. He has planted more than 2 crore trees in Khammam. More than 2 crore trees have been planted by Ramaya. For that he got the Padma Shri award from Pranab Murthy, our then President Pranab. He died few months back. This is what he planted. One person planted more than 2 crore. What a blessing to him and his family and to his children, grandchildren and all that. This is the thing. We have to really plant trees one after the other, and this is the chance for us. Next. And this is another waste generation. We generate 3.4 million ton of plastic waste every year. And the time has come for us to reduce the use of plastics, reduce the consumption of waste and all that. Next. You see, in functions we are using plastic paper cup. Please stop drinking hot things in paper glass. You know the reason? Because of microplastics in it. Please stop it today onwards. Because many functions you provide tea in paper glass. Paper glass has got a wax or plastic coating which is very, very dangerous for your health. Okay, next. Don't have much time, so I'll just talk. So waste is generated drastically, and waste is creating a lot of problem to the nature. So these things we have to stop. And Only 8% is harvested. Though we, out of 1,180 millimeter rain that we get in India, only 8% is conserved. If we have a system of conserving more water, definitely we have done thousands and thousands of these kind of structures in India. We have done as part of my organization, Caritas. Next. So, because of all this, what is happening? No water, less food, no air, people migrate. People migrate. If there is nothing for us to survive, people migrate. And when you migrate, what happens is, definitely there is a lot of problems. That is why Dr. Norman Maier said, it is too late. It is too late to save this earth. We have 7,000 days left. He said, he's already gone. He's no more. Dr. Norman Maier. Next slide. Next slide, please. So, this is it, my dear friends. Most of you are MSW students. MSW students means you have special, God has given you special responsibilities being masters of social work. You are here not to just sleep. You are not here just to complete your MSW and go to Australia or UK. You are here to contribute. You are here to contribute to the humanities. You are here to contribute to the poor people, because poor people are badly affected because of climate change. Because we do not have a plan B. We have only one earth, and that earth is crying now. Next slide. Just 2, 3. So we have only one earth. Next slide, please. So it is our turn. It is our turn. It is your turn to lead, because you are young people. You have still long way to go, not like people like us. You have a long way to go for you to have a comfortable stay on the earth. Because of the climate change and problems, definitely you have to contribute a lot for the mother nature. So this is my conclusion, which is ecological conversion. Ecological conversion is required among yourself, within your family, in the community, in the village, panchayats. So that ecological conversion is divided into few things, like ecology of daily life. In a daily life, you should think of ecology, that you should not even eat more. You should not even eat more. You eat whatever is required. And when there is celebration, try to reduce the waste as much as possible. No use of plastics and all that. Economic ecology. When you have any economic activities, think of ecology. Social ecology. So all these things are there definitely to be followed in our institutions, in the families, in the community. So may God bless each one of you, because you have a long way to go being active students of MSW, BSW and all that. So please take action from today onwards. Today is the time for you. Don't wait for tomorrow. Today itself you have to start thinking. While doing a wonderful master's in social work, what you can contribute to the humanity is very, very important, because MSW course have been started by colleges like St. Aloysius College, not to give you only certificates, also to contribute to the most needy people, because they are waiting for you after your MSW. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Haridas, for that insightful presentation. A huge round of applause once again to Dr. Haridas for that clarion call, for reminding us that climate resilience is not just a technical challenge, but a moral obligation towards the next generations. Your reflections underline how urgent it is to act now if you want to ensure the livable future. Thank you so much, sir. Building on this talk, let us now turn to the question of sustainability in our decision-making processes and how we can embed ecological thinking into the very structures that guide our choices. Now I invite Mr. Karthik Ponnappa, co-founder and principal at Smarter Dharma, Bangalore. His organization has pioneered practical models for embedding sustainability into urban design, planning, and governance. He will speak on integrating sustainability into decision making, highlighting how ecological thinking can be translated into real world choices and practices. Mr. Ponnappa, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Haridas, thank you so much. You have actually laid the foundation for my presentation. So thank you for that. It also means I don't have to speak that much. All right? Good afternoon. This is a difficult time for all of you all. Right? Keeping your eyes open is difficult after a good meal, right? So we'll try our best. All right? But before I start, Dr. Lobo, congratulations. 25 years of running the master's program is no small feat, which also means that if you have an average of 100 or 200 students, you have anywhere between 2,500 to 5,000 social champions out in the world. That is not a small feat. So congratulations to that. Okay, so from the morning, we've all been speaking about climate change, and we've been talking about disasters. It almost feels like we are on a losing battle, right? Actually, it's the reverse, right? Like what Professor Haridas was saying, this looks like a problem that started to manifest almost 40 years back. All right? All of you all have your mobiles? Yes? Who doesn't have your mobile with you? Okay, perfect. Pull out your phones, because I want you all to start using it. Probably the only session in your college where somebody will say use your phone. Right? So let's start with that. First off, search for the first article which was published on climate change. Which is the first article published on climate change? Anybody found it? (1856). So how many years back did we know about climate change? If I take this gentleman saying 1856, how many years is it? I know you're a social work student, but math should also be strong. 2025 minus 1856 is what? So we have known about climate change for 169 years. Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to split this room into 3 groups, right? I have one group here, center group here, and third group over here, all right? We're going to, in between my session, we're going to have fastest finger first. I'm going to ask questions. And the entire group can actually take part and provide responses, right? So, if we have known about climate change for 169 years, right? And it looks like one of the solutions that the world economic powers is throwing at us is EV vehicles for transportation. Correct? So how long has EV vehicles been there in the world? So, okay, just for my convenience, can I say team 1, team 2, and team 3? Okay, so team 1, can you actually search for when was the first electric vehicle made in the world? Which year? Team 2, in the meantime, right? Find out how many miles that electric vehicle was supposed to run. Sorry? 1888. Okay. What was the name of the model? Whole team 1 is there. Everybody is there. Come on. Guys, before team 2 answers before you. First EV. Anybody? You are not very interested. You don't have to pull out your phone only and see. $1900s, very early 1900s. The first production-ready EV vehicle was around the same time the famous story of Ford T model. 1911, 1914, 1917, they started actually producing electric vehicles. Do you know how many kilometers or miles it ran? Team 2? About 130 kilometers on one charge in 1914. Today, how much does your electric scooter give you? 90? 100? So 120 years back, we already had electric vehicle which was running for 130 kilometers. So question to you all is, think about it. Have we really progressed? 100 years, we are still trying to make our vehicles run 100 kilometers on one charge. So from the morning, we've been talking about climate change and the climate emergency that's happening, right? The good story about climate change, right? Professor Dr. Haridas already spoke about pre-industrialization numbers. 287 ppm or so was pre-industrialization, right? Does anybody or everybody understand ppm, parts per million? If you have 1 million parts of something, say for example, Maruti has manufactured 1 million cars, right? 287 of them is a certain model and type. So if you have 1 million parts or atmospheric parts in the atmosphere, 287 of them are supposed to be constituting of carbon dioxide gas, right? And then, sir, you said right now it is at 420. So now in your phone, I hope all of you have a calculator. From 287, we've now gone to 420. What is the percentage difference? It's team 3's chance, is it? Team 3, you guys are up. What is the percentage change that has happened? %, 50%? Less than 50%? Start using numbers to make sense of what is being put in front of you, right? So we'll start quickly moving on. I'll first introduce myself. My name is Karthik Ponnappa. I run an organization called Dharma, right? For me to create a problem statement, right? Maybe it is because I'm a little stupid and little not good with the gray cells. It took me almost 7 to 8 years to actually experiment in the ecosystem, get my hands dirty, and try and understand where I can actually go and contribute something for myself. So when somebody asks me, Karthik, what have you been doing for the past 13, 14 years in Dharma? I say, I've been experimenting. That experimentation led me down a lot of lessons. So we worked with the Swiggies to see how we can help Swiggy become sustainable. We worked with Featherlight to learn how to help Featherlight, the chair company and manufacturing company, right? How to make them sustainable. We worked with Gokuldas Exports, who manufactures your textile and apparel, and learned what it means to make sustainable apparel. Right? We started to build sustainable buildings. How can I actually bring up an entire Aloysius institutions and set of college, right, and make it in the most sustainable way possible? We learn by doing. We learn by getting our hands dirty, right? So don't be afraid to actually go out there and get your hands dirty and learn, would be my first advice. Now, what we are right now doing is we're trying to create, right, a decision-making platform for anybody who is constructing or who is building something in India. Why have we chosen the built environment, right? Is actually a very simple conversation. We are sitting in your campus, in your college. It is a building, right? As soon as you get out of here, you are getting onto the road. It is infrastructure. It is also something that has been man-made and built. You might be going home, you might be going to a mall, you might be going out with friends, but everything that you are going in and utilizing is something that has been built. We have used cement, steel, sand to build this. 95% of your life every day is in some building or in some built environment. Which means to say that if we are able to make our built environment sustainable, you are able to work on a big chunk of the challenge that you have. And that is the approach that we came with. We can go to the next slide. So while I have been learning, this is the impact that we've been creating. I have worked on almost 18 million square feet of construction space. So far, about 22 million tons of carbon has been mitigated, right? And correlating data on how much energy has been saved, how much water has been saved, how much waste has been managed, etc. You can approach this in the most scientific way that you can do it. We are no more jola carrying, kurta wearing people who we think are associated in the sustainability or NGO industry. But we make a lot of mistakes, right? I went and did one MBA in a sister concern in Joseph's, right? First mistake. Then I thought I want to learn something more, so I went and did another MBA, right, in international finance and marketing, because I wanted to understand the international market of how we are actually utilizing this. While doing that, I went on to work with at least 40, 50 non-profits, NGOs, etc. And I started to learn that all of the problems are interrelated, but we are trying to solve it in silos. So why not go and do another MBA, very specifically in public policy, to understand how we can look at policy implementation and law support to be able to get that going. You learn with all your mistakes that you do, right? So, but while we're doing this, we can move ahead, sir. Next slide. Why is this so important? Almost 33% of the global emissions in the world is from your buildings. 40% of energy demanded in the world is in buildings. We are sitting over here, I'm using this mic, we are using the lights, the fans, everything, energy in buildings. This is why we have chosen this. And now the most important reason of why I have chosen to work on built environment. Next slide, please. Is the opportunity. If you give me 100 rupees and I put that in making a sustainable building, it has the highest impact that I can get in comparison to any other industry. If I put 100 rupees in manufacturing, if I put 100 rupees in agriculture, if I put 100 rupees in making buildings, the impact is the highest in making buildings. That is our approach. Now, next slide, please. So we'll quickly run. I'm going to use 5 minutes as a primer, simply because Professor Dr. Haridas has helped me do a lot of these things, right? Where he has used emotion, I'm going to throw data at you guys. We can go forward, right? What is the climate emergency? This is the average temperature of the world all the way from 1880 to 2020 or 2025. You will start seeing that the temperature has started to go up almost on a yearly basis. How many of y'all are 25 years and below? Raise your hand. Okay, most of the audience is less than 25 years. Okay, by this data sheet, it only tells you that you have not experienced a normal year on Earth. Think of it that way. You have been living in a highly heated up world ever since you were born. And for that, I have to profusely first apologize, because it is no fault that you came into a world which has a climate emergency. Now, how is this correlated to carbon dioxide and GHG gases, global? Okay, now next question. Anybody know what the full form of GHG is? Greenhouse emissions. Perfect. So what the doctor was referring to with respect to carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, methane, etc., is all part of GHG, right? Can we just click on the next slide? So while the temperature has been going up, you can see the line graph that is going along with it. That is the increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Direct correlation of what is happening. Next slide, please. You'll also start seeing natural disasters also increasing year on year, which again what doctor was referring to. All this is known, right? It is about what you want to do with it to be part of the solution. How many of us have actually heard of what solutions are available to be on the positive side of this? Anyone? No? Let's move forward. We spoke about this. You can move forward. Greenhouse gases, 287, fine, no problem. We can move front. I heard of y'all in the morning talking about SDGs, 17 SDGs are there, etc., right? How many targets are there in the 17 SDGs? 169 targets. So today is supposed to be SDG 13, right? Climate action. I would actually suggest look at how many targets are there in SDG 13, because those are more definitive for you. You'll be able to understand how you can play your part in it. This is India's NDCs. This is what we have pledged. And this becomes very, very important, because when you get into industry, when you finish education and get into a career, whatever you're going to do, these policies are going to directly be correlating with how you are going to operate in your industry, right? This will also tell you why there is so much focus on renewable energy, very specific to solar, simply because of the capacity that we want to grow. This will also tell you why we're trying to see whether we can reduce our dependency on fossil fuel or non-renewable sources of energy. The entire industry is moving in a certain direction. You will need to really understand this if you need to be ahead of your curve in your careers. And it doesn't matter whether you're looking at MSW, whether you're in the social side, environmental side, governance side. This is going to directly relate to how you're working. We can move forward, all right? Doctor spoke about migration. It's actually a very, very simple conversation that you can have. more people are going to come into urban ecosystems and demand for the limited resources which are there. So they're going to actually be fighting for the resources that you are consuming today. Very fair understanding of that? We can move forward. So today morning, great, let it be. Perfect. Today morning, somebody, I think Miss Sheen was talking about Earth Day. Perfect. Right? When was Earth Day? Perfect. April 22nd. Anybody know when Christmas is? Okay, now we'll ask. Team 3, Christmas. Okay, Team 2, World Environment Day. Team 2. You have your phone, mobile. World Environment Day. June 5th. Okay, great. Team 1. Okay. Now, which team wants to get the fourth answer? Earth Overshoot Day. Fastest finger first. When is Earth Overshoot Day? July 24th. Okay. What is Earth Overshoot Day? We can go to the next slide. Very simple, right? All of you all have a certain budget that you all keep for spending every month. Some days you go with your friends and party extra hard, right? Or there's extra expenses, etc. And then you are living on credit. From 25th of the month, suddenly there is no money in my pocket. I have to borrow money from somebody, or I have to beg my parents, or I have to go into my savings that I've kept for a future day, right? So I've overshot my budget. In the same way, from January to December, the earth is able to replenish its resources, right? One click, please. So the earth has a certain budget for all of us at the rate that we can replenish it, okay? Right now what is happening is we are consuming everything which we're supposed to consume by December, we finished consuming by July 24th. So from July 25th, you are borrowing from somebody else. You are consuming from your future self. This is very simply put the easiest way for you to understand how much we are over consuming, non-scientifically speaking. Right? So, right from the 70s, if you see, we have been continuously over-consuming, and the scale of increase is going more and more. Okay? So, what can we do to reverse this? Would be a good question. Because then we'll be a little better off. Can you see any anomalies over there? On one particular year, overconsumption actually reduced. Which year is that? Which year? 2020. Next slide, please. COVID. Because of that disaster, what happened? First wave of COVID. Production shut down, no flights, no transportation. We were all locked in our houses and not able to move. Nobody was, manufacturing was shut down. Yes? That was by disaster. But it is an inclination of what has to happen from our consumption side to be able to understand whether we can be part of the solution. So can we design for decoupling development and decoupling emissions consumption? That would be the goal that is there in front of all of us. Here are some solutions that you can start looking at. if you are able to actually design your cities better, your buildings better, that date you saw, July 24th, you can move it by 21 days in the right direction. If you look at having a much more vegetarian cuisine on your plate, you can move that date by 15 days. If you are looking at better transportation, and this I'm talking about better mobility. I'm not going to talk to you about ICE vehicles, that is internal combustion vehicles versus EV vehicles, etc., etc. Right? You can move your date by how many days? 12 days. Here's something that you'll find very interesting. By empowering women, by family planning, by education, you can move that date by almost 30 days. So our grandmother saying of educate a girl child, the village prospers, is very similar in what science is also now talking about. Food waste, if you reduce, 10 days you can move it by. Right? Here are conversations that you can have where you can be part of this solution. As MSW students, can you actually tell me some of the activities that you'll have control over in college, in campus? Now, let's just take this, right? How much waste is generated in college campus? Food waste? Anybody know? It's a very simple thing. We have about, how many students are sitting here? 100, 150? I don't know. About? You all can easily look at how to work with your management and reduce food waste in your own campus. It's a very simple thing. Doctor was also talking about your single-use paper or plastic cups, etc., right? And he only spoke till with respect to microplastic, right? Single-use plastic, especially if you're using it for consumption, is actually not a waste problem. As a waste problem, it is already solved. It is going to become a health epidemic. If you can play me, I think, the third video.
Karthik, you're overshooting.
I've also overshot? Yeah. Okay. So, but we can end with... If you can just put pause. So this is a leading neurosurgeon in Bangalore. His name is Dr. Arvind Batija, right? And this is what he talks about microplastic.
Scientists love to talk about something called neuroplasticity, but I recently came across a disturbing article. Matthew Campen and colleagues from the University of New Mexico conducted testing on biobank brain samples, one set from 2016 and another set from 2024. And they used advanced microscopic techniques using gas chromatography to study the amount of micro and nanoplastics in the frontal lobes of these brain specimens. To their shock and horror, and to the shock and horror of a large scientific community across the world, they found a tremendously high concentration of microplastics and nanoplastics in the frontal lobes. Approximately 7 to 30 times the amount of plastics in the liver and kidney, which should have actually contained more because these are the organs that filter out waste substances in the body. This is a very disturbing study because it shows that plastics are all around us and are ubiquitous, and they're entering our body through methods that we don't even understand fully yet. It's just like how the Romans were exposed to lead and never realized the toxic effects of lead, which ultimately probably led to the end of Roman civilization. So please read and educate yourself on the effect of plastics and do your best to avoid contact with them.
So in your campus today, I had 2 cups of nice hot chai in paper cups. How many do you all consume every day over here while on campus? You have the power to actually take action within your own campus if you make up your mind to it, if you have enough information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Karthik, for demonstrating how sustainability can be integrated into the real world problems, from urban planning to organizational strategies. Your examples shows us that sustainable choices are both practical and beneficial when designed thoughtfully. To complete the picture, our final speaker will take us into the world of climate science and reporting or communicating, how knowledge is shared, shaped, and acted upon by society. Now I would like to call upon Ms. Rishika Pardikar, a climate and environment journalist based in Bangalore. Her reporting brings scientific knowledge into public conversation, making climate issues accessible while also addressing questions of justice and accountability. She will speak on the topic climate science and reporting. Ms. Pardikar.
Hello. I'll use this. Am I audible? Is this okay? Okay. Does anyone here want to be a journalist? Not even one person? Has anyone thought about reporting and being in journalism or being on TV? Yeah? Two? Okay. Oh, okay. So when I was in school and when I was studying, I didn't know journalism could be something I could do. I came into it much later. So I'm always curious when I speak to students if they have journalism on their mind, because it's one way that you can contribute. So journalism is, in a democracy, journalism is one pillar, whether for climate action, whether for environment action, or general political action, general equality in society. So for all of these things, journalism is one way that you can contribute. So yeah, this picture is actually from Bangalore. It's from my grandma's neighborhood. So, and I keep it just to remind myself that even places which recently got electricity can still be flooded. So that is the injustice of climate, that people who for the longest time did not have electricity are now seeing the impacts and their own streets flooded. So can we go to the first slide? Yeah, so this is, I don't know how many people here have seen a coal mine. Has anyone seen a coal mine? So this is my reporting from Chhattisgarh. So we talk about fossil fuels, we talk about coal, we talk about electric vehicles, but I would recommend everyone to actually visit mining sites to know what it is like. If you stand here outside your vehicle, so for example, I had gone in a jeep, and workers here, they move around in trucks. But if they get out of their trucks, or if I get out of my vehicle, I can't breathe. The air pollution is that bad, because it's directly in a coal mine. And in my own Jeep's windshield, I could see black particles. So you can't stand out here for more than a few minutes without getting suffocated. So the reason previous slide. So the reason I went here was also to understand what it would mean for those workers. So it's not just climate action and moving to electric vehicles, but what do we do about all the workers who are working in a coal mine today? What about them? So you can't simply shut down a coal mine and then say bye and then move ahead. There are a lot of people who are working in very, very hazardous conditions today. So how do you plan a transition for them? What is their work opportunity once you shut down the coal mine? And also to understand the lives of people who belong to these areas. So the green color field that you can see, those are women who belong to a tribal community called Gond. They are a local tribal community in Chhattisgarh. And all their agricultural fields were taken over to build these coal mines. So Chhattisgarh is one of the major 3-4 states that have coal mines in India. And all of these people, the tribal communities there, their agricultural fields and their lands were taken over to build coal mines. So there are multiple levels of justice questions that come in when you talk about climate change, and this is also one. So workers, Adivasi communities, and so the picture on the top, which looks completely black with one light, that is an underground coal mine. So this was almost 300 feet down. So there also working is, obviously it's every day when you go in, you put your life at risk. There are many workers who work in underground mines also. And I had to go there once, but they go there every day risking their life. And when we were there only in another coal mine, there was a roof collapse, and I think 2 workers died. So this is the kind of challenges that we are dealing with today, right now in the fossil fuel economy, but also tomorrow there will still be mining. So how do you deal with all these challenges? And that the quote there about coal is everywhere, that's one person from the Adivasi community, he was saying this. So he was saying when they take over the Adivasi land in that area, they don't have any other place to move these people because tomorrow a coal mine will come in the new place. So it's constantly shifting these people, constantly leaving them precarious because all land there has coal. So almost a lot of the land in Chhattisgarh has coal, Jharkhand, West Bengal. So yeah, next slide. So this is my reporting from some coastal areas. This was Andhra and Orissa. I have not reported from Bangalore yet, but you can try and see if this is happening here also. So I think in one of the slides, someone was mentioning about sea level rise. So what happens with climate change is the world gets warmer, glaciers melt, and when glaciers melt, the water goes into the ocean and sea levels rise. So when sea levels rise, what happens is people who live in coastal villages like this, their lives are affected. So I remember I met one woman, she's not there in the picture here, but I met one woman who was around maybe 45, 50 years old, and in her lifetime, she had moved houses 3 times. She had to move inward because the sea had taken over 3 of her houses. So this was in Orissa. And the same thing is happening in Andhra also. And you guys can check if something like this is happening in Bangalore because India's west coast is less vulnerable to sea level rise than the east coast. So east coast has a lot more cyclonic activity. It is more vulnerable. And I visited east coast states. But west also, I wouldn't be surprised if at least to some extent this is still happening. So you can actually go to and check coastal villages, talk to people, see if they have seen sea level rise and their houses go into the water. But I actually went there to check a climate solution, a so-called climate solution. So the Indian government is building something called a geotube. So geotube is basically like a big tube. You fill it with sand and you cover it with rocks, like on the right side the image. You cover it with rocks and you lay it on the beach. So what this does is it breaks the wave energy, so the wave will not be able to come into the village and take more soil. So this is it's like a sea wall, basically. So the government has put this in Andhra Pradesh and in Orissa, and I went to check if it is working or not. So what I found first was that the geotube was not maintained. So you can see on the image on the right, it's all broken. So maintenance was one issue, but apart from this, people were still complaining of cyclonic water coming in, taking over their homes and destroying their homes. And the lady on this side, she was telling me that they had put all of their life savings into building a new house. The house that she's standing in front of, that was the house that she built, that they built with all their family savings. It's not painted yet, so it's a very new house. And her worry is that now if there's one cyclone tomorrow, that her whole life savings can go. Next slide. This is a story I did about how climate is impacting agriculture. So I think this was 2019. Yeah, this was 2019. So 2019 monsoon. So monsoon in India is June to September. And this is when farmers, they plant rice. So Kaveri is a very fertile area, lots of rice growers both in Karnataka and in Tamil Nadu. But for this story, I focused on Karnataka. So what happened in 2019 is June and July, when you're supposed to get rain, sufficient rain for planting rice, there was no rain. So you can see both June and July in red. So farmers couldn't plant rice in June and July because there was no rainfall at all and they did not plant. And then some farmers did plant, but whoever planted did not get rain in June and July when they needed it, and they got excess rain in August. And this was clearly, so farmers were telling me this, so I found this data later. So when I was speaking to farmers from across the Kaveri basin, they were telling me that June, July, they got no rain. August, suddenly there was a downpour. So even the farmers who took some courage and planted, all their crops were destroyed in August. And then later I went and I checked the data also, and data was matching what the farmers were telling. So clearly, June, July, no rain, August, excess rain, and both times there was a lot of damage. So if anyone, so this, just 1 minute. So what I wanted to tell from this story is that farmers' words and what they say, that is lived experience. And that is true, and you can substantiate that with data also, because data also will tell you the same story. So whatever I heard from farmers, it was their reality, and it's all of our reality also, because there is data to support it. It's not just some one experience. Next slide. So this is what I was talking about, just transition. So what do we do about workers? So that article is quite technical. If anyone wants to read about what a just transition is, what do we do for workers, then you can go and read it. But more than workers, the Indian economy is very dependent on coal. So it's not just electricity, even industries like iron and steel. So iron and steel requires very high temperature. As of today, that kind of temperature, only fossil fuels, they give it. So India relies a lot on coal for iron and steel, for brick kilns also. And there are many other dependencies in the Indian economy. So even Indian railways, so all the trains that all of us use, the train ticket is cheap for us because it is subsidized by coal transport. So when the Indian Railways transports coal, they charge them more than they charge passengers. So all of our fares are subsidized by coal transport across India. So tomorrow if coal is not there, then our passenger tickets will be higher. So Indian economy is dependent on coal, not just for electricity, but for energy across sectors like iron and steel, brick kilns, and many other financial dependencies, coal mining, tax. So we have to transition a whole economy out of coal. And it's not as simple as buying one EV. So we can buy an EV, we can install a solar panel, but from the Indian government point of view, they have to move a whole economy of 1.4 billion people out of coal. So I've addressed some of these issues in that article, India and the case for energy transition. It's a long, I think it's some 3,000 word article. You can read it when you have time. The article below, that's about disasters in the Himalayas. So someone, I think sir was talking about Uttarakhand and Himachal. So there was a disaster in Chamoli, I think this was 2021. And some workers who were working in a hydropower plant, they were completely washed away. There was no track of them also because they were all migrant workers. They were all contract labor. And there was no early warning system. So in a country like India, especially in areas like the Himalayas, if there was an early warning system, workers could have been evacuated. Like even if you get 5-10 minutes more time in a disaster, 5-10 minutes can save a life. So in India, in many places, when there's a rainfall-related disaster or even a heat wave, a few extra minutes, some amount of advance notice can save a lot of lives. So that is one kind of climate action that I would personally like to see. That that the climate department, the weather department will come and tell you that tomorrow don't go out too much because tomorrow it's 45 degrees or 40 degrees. Or someone who can tell the workers here that there will be flooding because of a lot of rain. So you can come out of the tunnel that you are digging. Next slide. So climate can be a factor in every plan that the government makes. So for example, if you're building a road, and in that area, and maybe you're in Meghalaya, where it rains a lot. So are you taking into account how much rainfall will increase in the next few years when you're building that road? Because that road should last long. So if you build a new road now, it shouldn't be washed out by the next monsoon. So this is one small thing that the government can plan, but there are a lot of other things also. So when you plan a dam, when the government plans to build a dam, is the government taking into account the excess amount of rainfall that will come and how much can the dam hold? So if the dam today can hold only 1 bucket of water, for example, tomorrow because of rain there are 2 buckets of water. Can the dam hold 2 buckets, or are you still designing for a world that we are not living in? So from what I have personally seen, government data is very, very old. They rely on data from 1950s, 1960s, 1970, and they have not taken into account the most recent changes that have happened. The other thing is palm oil. So the government had a very big push for palm oil. So they wanted to reduce our oil import. So the Indian government wanted to reduce India's expenditure on oil import, and they gave a big push for palm oil. But again, here climate was not factored in. So the areas that they want to grow oil palm, there they want to rely on rainfall. But in those places, rainfall was already very low. Plus it was getting erratic because of climate change. And currently those areas do not produce any palm oil. So they're not taking into account local factors also. Now this is just the second last slide. We've heard a lot of climate science, so I won't go into it. But two things that I do want to address here. So one is people will say that the climate has always changed. It is true. the Earth's climate has changed over thousands of years, over millennia, and it will continue to change. But the amount of human impact, so the first slide here, so the observed that you can see, that shows that in a very short amount of time, humans have made that mark in the graph. So climate is always varied, it has gone up and down. But what we are doing in a very short amount of time, that is very glaring. And the other one also, that also shows the amount of impact humans have had, because natural variability is very low. Natural variability on average, it's not much. But because of the human activity, we have, you can see the black line is the observed change in temperature, and that's almost fully because of human. Does anyone have any questions on those, on the words that I have put there? Does everyone understand what carbon dioxide is, what greenhouse gases are, what methane is? So I think sir was talking about methane and nitrous oxide. So these are, in a shorter period of time, they contribute more than carbon dioxide. These are short-lived gases. But over 100 years, over 1,000 years, carbon dioxide is still the biggest cause of climate change. So methane, nitrous oxide don't stay in the atmosphere for too long. They'll stay for a few decades, not much. Does anyone know the difference between weather and climate? Just today morning we were having a discussion. So today morning it was very hot, and now it is slightly cloudier. It might start raining in the evening. Does anyone think we can guess climate change from this pattern? How many people say no and how many people say yes? So in one day, can you assess whether climate has changed or not? Does anyone say yes? How many people say yes? So actually, so climate change, you should observe the changes for at least about 30 years on average. So because in a day, it can change from extremely sunny to extremely rainy, and that need not necessarily be climate change. So to establish that it is climate change, you need a long-term trend for about 30 years. So the IPCC relies on 30 years. Climate change happens over centuries, over decades. So weather change, we see it within a day, we see within seasons also, right? Like, so May and June are extremely hot, and then it gets rainy, and then it gets slightly cooler because it's winter. So this is not climate change. This is natural changes in the seasons, natural changes within a day also. But if you have to establish climate change, then you should check the long-term trend. So if you want to know if Bangalore has experienced climate change, then check rainfall records for at least like 100 years, 50 years. Does anyone have any questions on any of the words, or do you want to understand anything? Yeah. So yeah, carbon sink. So we all know that trees absorb carbon dioxide, right? So trees remove carbon dioxide from the air, and they store it in their in their biomass. So in their trunks, in their roots, and they store it underground also. So the amount of carbon that a tree stores underground, the amount of carbon that is captured in the oceans. So both of these are carbon sink. So underground and ocean. Okay, next slide. This is the last slide. So again, these are very technical topics, and maybe you can read it in your leisure, and then you can get back to me if you have any questions. All of this is science reporting. One thing I do want to say is that I have not formally studied science. I have not studied journalism also. But it's still very easy to understand. If you just invest a little bit of time in understanding science and in understanding journalism and in understanding how to write, I think anyone can do it. So these look very technical, but it's not difficult to understand. So yeah, I'll stop here. Next slide. If anyone has any questions, you can reach out to me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rishika. A huge round of applause to all the panelists. Especially the last presentation, for enlightening us the importance of the credible and accessible reporting about the climate and the climate science, and engaging talk on the power of reporting in shaping the climate awareness. With that, we conclude the individual presentations. So we will now open the floor for the question and answers. First, the moderator will ask some questions to the panelists. Then the floor will be open for the question and answers for the individual panelist, or you can cut across, you can put the questions. The first question to Dr. Haridas, what are the concrete steps we can take today to ensure the survival of the next generation in the face of rising climate risk? What are the concrete steps we can take?
First and foremost is to change our attitude from a very bad culture to a green habit. Some example I am telling you. We all were mentioning about fossil fuel. You can manage without fossil fuel, or you can reduce fossil fuel also, so that our contribution to climate change, the global warming, can be reduced. Second thing is by consuming, because earlier we used to cultivate and consume. So food mile used to be very minimum. Now, for example, I am staying in Cochin. 80 to 90% of the food is coming from outside the country, outside the state and outside the country also, which is consuming a lot of carbon dioxide food mile. So the consumption is very important. Consumerism is dangerous also. Too much of consumerism and too much of consumption. So when we change it, those bad habits definitely we can. And this is what is to be taught to the new generation. It should start from syllabus. It should start for the schools. School students are learning about physics, mathematics and chemistry, 90% A+ mark they get. But when you talk about climate change, even some of the basic things, if you talk to you also, you will not be able to answer. I will not be able to answer. I will ask one question to you. What is the age of this earth? Any one of you can answer? What is the age of this earth? Difficult. Basic thing. So there are many things that is to be started from school level, LKG, UKG. Then we have to bring in a change in their attitude and all sort of things.
Thank you, sir. So in your presentation you said there is a precipitation within a short period of time and there is a sharp increase of temperature. Can you give some examples? Because the local adaptation is very important. Because when we are talking about the sustainable agriculture, the local adaptation is very important. And the pressing issue is within a short period of time. Because now we are experiencing the cyclonic rains. Within 10 days, the 1 year rain we are getting. So what is your examples or the experiences for the sustainable agriculture with the local adaptations for this kind of pressing issues?
The reason for high intensity rainfall, see, like we have heard of cloud burst. The main reason behind that is increase in ocean temperature. Ocean temperature is increasing because of melting of ice. Ocean temperature is increasing because of the loss of flora and fauna within the ocean. And a lot of dumping of plastics is also happening, which is leading to increase in the. So adaptation for farmers, they have to go for climate resilient agriculture pattern. Climate resilient, drought resilient crop. Short duration crops are there. Flood resilient crops are there. So there are something of that sort can be promoted to help the farmers. There is no other way. Because, see, now in Assam, every year flood, every year failure of rice, every year farmers are in distress because of the problem with the floods. The Brahmaputra river is always, every year, Brahmaputra river is getting flooded. So there is a lot of solution for that, hydrogeological solutions, geological solutions are there. But then who wants all that? Nobody wants solution. This is the reality. Like P. Sainath wrote, no? Everybody likes a good route. This is what is the truth.
Thank you, sir. The next question is to Mr. Karthik. In your experience, the smarter Dharma, okay, any models or a case study which shows the success of sustainable decision making? Do you have any case study or model in your smarter Dharma?
Thank you. Actually, there are multiple models of success, right? Both international stories are there, and there are also local documented case studies which are there. But I believe, so here's the usual conversation that you will always start with, right? When somebody wants to look at sustainability or wanting to move to become sustainable or conscious, whatever words that you want to use, most times we actually do not know what that means. We are not able to visualize that, right? So trying to be able to understand it and visualize it is your first goal that is there. To me, the best case study of internalization, of changing, right, is if you are able to ask yourself at any decision making, right, whether sustainability or the question of sustainability is also part of that decision making. So say, for example, a long time back, all I knew was that there were 4 seasons and 4 apparel styles based on season, right? There was a summer collection, there was a winter collection, there was autumn and spring collection. Today, because of fast fashion, you now have 52 weeks of collections, right? So next time you go to purchase, say, any apparel, any clothing that you want, whatever is in fashion, if you have already asked yourself, hey, what is the style that is there? I like it. What is the color that is there? What is the cost? Right? These are usual questions that we ask when purchasing something. If you also add a question of how sustainable is this product, that itself means you have started to think sustainably. You don't have to look at rocket science solutions like what we are showing over here. That means you have already stepped into a conversation of wanting to be part of the solution of being sustainable, right? So say, for example, how many of you all have heard of this global apparel and sportswear giant called Patagonia? Right? Patagonia has now become almost like a cult status. If you want, Google them, right? They are one of the largest adventure and sports manufacturers in the world, right? And on, say, Black Friday, which is, say, in the US, when when people go mad trying to purchase things, Patagonia shuts down because they say that they don't want to participate in this consumerism culture. Even with such kind of extreme cases, they are probably one of the leading adventure and sports manufacturing companies in the world. So like this, there are hundreds of solution providers who are coming in, who are doing really well. So much so, I will give you one statistic which is there. The top 2,000 companies by revenue, which means to say billion-dollar companies, right? Were studied over 20 years. Half of them actually had very sustainable principles plugged into the core operations. They were seeing 5.5% higher earnings than the other companies. And this is over 18 years, year on year.
Yeah, in continuation of this one, because most of the decision makers, they will see, because the short-term profits they will see, because long-term sustainability they may not see. But when they are coming, when they are approaching, how you are convincing them to go for the long-term sustainability? What are the barriers you are facing?
So, see, when you are deciding or taking decisions, right, there are multiple factors which you use for decision making. One, of course, is that most altruistic thing of, hey, this is right for everybody or most of the environment, social side, governance side. This is the right thing to do, would be that altruistic view, right? That alone doesn't allow you to take those decisions. There are other factors as well. The factors could be external factors like, say, regulation, right? Government has put certain stringent regulation where you have to follow certain things. There could be a financial model, which means to say that you will probably earn more revenue and more profit because you are making things more sustainable. And the fourth thing is as simple as this. If there are 150 audience over here, if all of them are going to go and ask for something that is more sustainable, you have your audience asking for something, which is your customer is now asking for it. Many times, all of these four are definitely putting pressure on decision making. It's not one single activity.
Thank you, Karthik. The next question is to Rishika. Most of the climate journalists, they translate the complex issues, especially when it comes to the scientific findings, because the researchers or the scientists, they are able to convince their audience, the elite audience. But when it comes to the journalist, it is not only a one group of people you will be facing. So how it is easy or how it is difficult to translate these complex findings into a general audience?
Yeah, so it's always a task. So a lot of my science reporting, it's basically starts from a research finding which comes from scientists or researchers, and then I have to try to understand, okay, do I understand this first? And then once I understand it, then I should take it to the general audience. So it's always a task trying to firstly understand climate science for myself, and then explain it in even simpler terms to people who might not even be interested in environment or climate issues. But that is one role of media, right? One role of media is to bring important findings like this into the public domain, put it before an audience with which they can question government and they can question companies. And so it's a very crucial role that journalists play, but yeah, it's also challenging. Yeah.
Thank you. The second and the last question from moderator side, because now it is coming, yeah. The misinformation is nowadays it is coming. Okay, the misinformation and the climate denial. So how you are visualizing that particular aspect?
So yeah, so in India there's not much of climate denialism. So climate denialism is more of Europe, US, Australia, and their companies, so oil and gas companies in the US, in Australia, in Europe, they have played a big role in spreading misinformation through media because they also control media. In India, there is not much of climate denialism. So people lack awareness of what exactly fossil fuels are. They lack awareness of climate science, of how this leads to this. But generally, like even when I speak to people who are not so-called educated, like a farmer will also tell you that rainfall patterns today are not like what they used to be when he was a child. So everyone in India recognizes climate change. So even my neighbors, when I speak to them, they might not use words like climate change, they might not use words like fossil fuels, but they also see our own streets flooding when they're not supposed to be flooding. So generally in India, thankfully, there is scientific temper, even when we don't use the right words. So we do recognize what's happening, we do recognize it's something different. So climate denialism is not an Indian phenomenon, at least not as of now, and I have not seen it. It is a Western issue. But slowly what I am seeing is, so for example, during COVID time, there was a lot of misinformation about vaccines. Vaccines will have these side effects. People are saying this without evidence. So there is a danger that something like this might come up in climate denial also, but as of now, I have not seen it.
Yeah. So now the panelist is ready for your questions. The audience can ask their questions. You can put across all the three panelists, or you can specifically ask any one of the panelists.
Good afternoon, panelist. Indeed, it was a nice interactive session. I have three questions. It's collective questions, and two questions are direct. First question is with reference to greenhouse gases and garbage generation. This is for Karthik. Do you support Swiggy and Zomato? Because for 2014, before that we didn't have a Swiggy or Zomato, but still we are surviving. But after this Swiggy and Zomato comes, what is your take on that? Do you really support, because you work with them?
If I got your question right, you are, so what I'm hearing from you is because the amount of waste generation is going up, are you supporting Swiggy and Zomato?
Yeah, and also greenhouse gases in terms of production, supplying, all those things.
So with respect to your packaging industry, essentially I would say your home delivery industry, and not only limited to Swiggy and Zomato, including your Amazon and Flipkart and all of these guys, right? In my limited experience, what we have seen in research is, if I take a city like Bangalore, because I am from there, I can give you some data. There has been an increase of waste, dry waste and waste volumes increasing by about 5 to 8%. Right, so that is the data that is available. Do I support them? I don't understand the question. In what way do I support them?
No, you told I work with Swiggy.
Yeah, to help them become sustainable. Essentially, what we did was, say for example, I'll give you one small example, right? When they were actually trying to create their dark stores, the cloud kitchens which they were initially working with, we try to understand how much water they were consuming to make each meal, right? And we were able to help them reduce the amount of water demand by almost 60% for each meal that they're making. But if your question is, do you support them delivering food to somebody who wants it, you have to ask the 150 whether they've actually ordered on Swiggy or Zomato. That is your answer, sir.
Okay, so thank you. So another question is for Rishika. Does the media give adequate attention to tackle climate change issue compared to cricket or cinemas? Because we have seen when there was a Darshan case in Bangalore, all the media was behind that case only. So in that 2 months, there is no any news regarding anything. Do you think the media is doing justice to tackle climate change?
Yeah, so generally also environmental issues don't always come on the front page. So when there is a disaster somewhere, then media will wake up and put something on the front page, but otherwise media, generally mainstream media especially, does not care much about environmental issues, and climate change is one part of this issue. So, but I think in the last maybe 5-10 years, so I've been a journalist for about 7 years now, so I have seen more and more climate coverage. So now we have a lot of online media also, and they give a lot of space for environmental coverage, for science and environment, and climate change also. But traditionally, whether it is newspapers, magazines, the printed media, they have not paid much attention to climate or environment. And TV though is, I don't watch TV for news anymore, I watch it to assess what they are saying. But TV has done an extremely bad job in covering climate and covering environment. Print is probably the second worst, but online I do see a lot of hope. So if anyone here is interested in following more environment news, following more climate news, then you can probably find it more easily on online media than in traditional media.
Okay, thank you. The last question for all the panelists. With reference to climate change, how to tackle? Shall we go emotion-driven strategies or science-based strategies? Because when I say Mother Earth is completely different from Earth. Save Mother Earth versus save Earth. Because there were two discussions happened. So Karthik gave like a data-driven. On the other hand, Haridasan sir gave like emotion-oriented. So in that case, what are the strategies we have to go? So will we go like emotion-driven strategies or science-based strategies?
I do not think you can break it up so individualistically and say I'm going to do only science-based targeting. Targeting can be science-based. I believe that most decisions have an emotional context to it, right? When you want to make a purchase, however much you calculate in your mind on the economic value of it, the emotion is what is going to actually drive you to buy or not buy at the end of the day. So I don't see it as a black and white conversation. Both of them have to be utilized, because the end goal is what you need to achieve, right? Utilize both of them for achieving that end purpose.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. My question is to Dr. Haridas, sir. Your slides were very insightful, sir. In the slides, you had mentioned that to reduce our carbon footprint, whatever we produce, to counter it, we have to plant around 20 trees. But, sir, if I see in my own area, if I want to plant 20 trees, so mostly it's private places or public places, and everywhere it's covered by cement or footpath. So we don't find places to plant it. And even if we plant it, who will take care of it? We can't just plant it and leave it. It has to grow. We have to protect it. Dogs might come, or any animal might cut it, or people also might pull it apart. How do we take care of it? What's the solution?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. Very, very relevant. Prime Minister in Man Ki Baat said something. This is the strategy that we use. Before he said, we have started doing it. That you should plant a tree in the name of your mother. I have done it in Belgaum, Bellary, Gulbarga, Shimoga, because we have projects going on in all the area. Wherever I go, I used to tell the community, the people, especially the women, can you plant one tree in the name of my mother? So that is the strategy sometimes we have to do. Not that we do not have the space. We have the space. But not in our own plot, but in a common area, like a Ramaya. He used to collect seeds in a jute bag. And he goes with that seed and then plant it. 2 crore, not 2 lakh or 200. So each one of us at least should plant in the name of our mother. One plant in the name of our mother means it can be a lot more trees coming up. And also maintenance, as you rightly said. We have invented a new technology called root zone fertigation technology for faster growth of the plant. Root zone fertigation. You have to fertigate to the roots instead of on the surface, because surface means the operation is happening. So these are some of the technique I can share with you, those models. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My second question is to Mr. Karthik, sir. So, sir, I believe in India, if you want to influence people to go towards sustainable living, there must be some financial incentive to that. That way people will adopt it more. So if we adopt sustainable living, sustainable architecture, all of that, how will you reach out to the crores of people? The cost might be high, right, for sustainable architecture, all of that, compared to our normal architecture.
Okay, so thank you. Great question, by the way. All right. Very, very statistically speaking, if you actually use the mandates or the principles of sustainability, which is essentially only material which is locally available, right, which is more consciously created, right, through the entire supply chain, etc. Sustainability should actually be at cost or lower cost than what is conventional. Right? Where we get lost in the conversation is with respect to your ecosystem. I'll give you a simple example. Right? And I think Mr. Vijay was speaking about that in the morning. Right? What is the actual cost of producing 1 kg of rice? Right? I don't think we have even a handful of economists in India who know the actual value or the cost of growing 1 kg of rice, right? Because the input on what is the cost of land, what is the cost of the fertile soil, what is the cost of water, what is the subsidized cost of fertilizer, of economic schemes, etc. We do not have. So what you finally arrive at is market price. The market determines the price, you have to sell at that price. Right? It's very similar in this conversation. Right? Your entire petrochemical industry is subsidized. One of the outputs is fertilizer, like we were talking earlier. When you actually include all of those costs and look at apple to apple real cost, your organic or your sustainable construction, etc., should ideally be at same cost or at a lower cost. So don't forget about those subsidies and economic benefits that is being provided for you to do this comparison. Right? Now, having said that, when you look at sustainable construction, I'll give you some examples. There's a very key difference between who is a generator. So for example, let's take your campus. I think your campus in 2021 installed more than 600 kilowatt peak of solar power, of solar panels, right? Now, what is conventional? Somebody else is creating and generating electricity. It can be thermal, non-thermal, whatever mix, right? And then providing infrastructure to supply electricity to you. Who is set up the infrastructure? Some third party. It can be government or private. But when you install solar, you are actually spending money. The capital expenditure you are putting. So that kind of capital expenditure is the additional. Because the system you're creating is for yourself. To me, that is the only additional cost which you will face. Right? I have seen sustainable projects that are being designed. If you remove these solar kind of costs, etc., are actually cheaper.
Thank you, sir. My third question is to Mrs. Rishika, ma'am. Ma'am, as you already said, climate literacy is very less in our Indian population. So now we conducted this program about climate literacy. There are around 150, 200 people. But we have to reach to the masses to bring a greater change. There are around 1.8 billion people in India. So how do we reach to them and educate them about climate literacy and motivate them to adopt sustainable practices? How can we do it?
So how I see it is, if I'm addressing a room of 150 people or 100 people or 50 people, then they will speak to maybe one person more, two people more, three people more. So if you, as an individual, if you want to create more awareness, any platform like this is good, where you address a larger audience and then maybe they can take the message ahead. And I've always said journalism is one way. So not just for environment and climate issues, but even democracy, governance, writing articles, reporting, that is another way. Also, but I think generally also the level of awareness is not as bad as we think. Like how I was saying, if you speak to a farmer, he will only tell you that rainfall today is not like what it used to be 20 years ago. So that gap is not there. They are already aware of climate impacts. The only thing that you have to tell them is, okay, why is this happening? Because we are emitting carbon dioxide, because we are burning fossil fuels, emitting carbon dioxide, that's leading to climate change. This crucial link is missing, that's all. Otherwise, people generally, whether in cities or in rural areas, have noticed patterns changing. But yeah, like platforms like this is great. So speaking to students, I like it personally. Or even any other platform, any other public platform, if people can come, they can join, you can discuss. Writing articles is again something I do, so I will talk about things that I do. So speaking engagements is one, writing articles is one. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So with that, we are just concluding this session. Thank you for all your insightful questions and for active participation. I have a huge round of applause to all the panelists, especially Dr. Haridas, Mr. Karthik Ponnappa and Ms. Rishika Pardikar for their insightful discussions on climate change, climate resilience, and especially the climate governance. Thank you all. And I just conclude this particular session because we are just overshooting actually. So I can see from their eyes also. So they are overshooted. So thank you all.
What an intellectually stimulating session this has been. We are grateful to our panelists for sharing their expertise and to our moderator for guiding the conversation so thoughtfully. To express our gratitude, I now invite Mr. Franklin to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening, one and all. On behalf of the Department of Social Work and the Organizing Committee of SAMPRATHI-2025, it is my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks for this evening session. At the outset, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to our moderator, Dr. A. Stephen, for skillfully guiding the discussion and ensuring a meaningful exchange of ideas. Thank you, sir. A heartfelt thanks to our distinguished panelists, Dr. Haridas VR, Mr. Karthik Ponnappa, and Ms. Rishika Pardikar for sharing their expertise and insights. Each of you have enriched our understanding from the role of biodiversity in climate resilience to sustainable decision making and the significance of climate science and reporting. Your thoughtful contributions have provided us with new perspectives and have truly made this session impactful. Thank you, sir and ma'am. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of faculty members, students, and participants whose engagements and enthusiasm added value to the discussion. Thank you. I sincerely thank the organizers for arranging this meaningful session. Good wishes to the moderator and all panelists in their future endeavor. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Franklin. Indeed, today's panel has added multiple dimensions to our understanding of climate literacy and governance.